Will R. Young, welcome to the conversation today.
Thank you.
It's a real pleasure to be with you. Where are you joining us from?
I live in downtown Baltimore.
Beautiful. And I'm in the Salt Lake City area in Utah. Hopefully, you're enjoying beautiful weather. I know I am as we move into fall, though in the pre-interview, as we were discussing, it sounds like you're strategizing, to use a Bushism, and looking for ways to go surfing this weekend. So I wish you the best with that. It is a real pleasure to sit down with you and have the opportunity to talk about your new book, The Enough Equation: Wealth, Wisdom, Virtue, and the Pursuit of Less. I really like that title and everything that kind of pulls together. I think there's a lot that we will have the opportunity to unpack as we have this conversation together. As we get started, I wanted to share Will's bio with everybody. Will R. Young is a behavioral finance expert and practicing Stoic philosopher, and his book, The Enough Equation, uses modern parables and principles from Stoic philosophy and behavioral psychology to explore how to define enough and find contentment. The book combines a narrative with wisdom to question or our modern, often story-driven relationship with money, which it argues is influenced by beliefs and behaviors, not just math. It encourages readers to pursue less to achieve greater fulfillment. I just love everything about that, and look forward to having this conversation with you. Anything you would like to highlight by way of your own personal background, professional context, before we dive on into the book?
No, I just will start it up.
Okay, awesome. Well, I always like to ask authors, why this book? Why now? You've been thinking about this stuff for a long, long time. You work with people, do trainings, coaching, various things, and then at some point you decide I need to write this book. So, what was it about this book now for you?
If you don't write, then you don't really know yourself. Writing forces you to really explain things in depth. That's how you learn. So you can remember something, but it doesn't mean you really know it. When you ask people a question, like if you do a job and I say, "Oh, I could do this or that," but when you ask them detailed, they can't express it because it's much harder. Writing is a way to get your thoughts down to paper and also share with everybody who you are as a person. So this is really me, but it's told in a narrative and a story, a fictional story. But it gives you a lot of the path of what I took to get to where I am today. Because noise and news and all these other things that affect other people don't affect me at all. Like I don't even watch the news yet. I feel
Mm-hmm.
more plugged in than ever before. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I wrote the book too. And then also to help people sit down and go, what is enough? Most people are looking at their neighbor
Right.
and they're looking at the gap between them and the neighbor versus the gain they've made in life. And that causes people to really make poor decisions because they're chasing something that they don't need to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so much of what we spend, our waking hours doing is like trying to fulfill like these external expectations on us, keeping up with the
Yes.
Joneses, societal, and well-meaning parents, well-meaning neighbors, well-meaning communities, that want us to just have happiness and success, but they over time, they impose a whole bunch of norms and expectations on people that don't always actually resonate with who you are if you take the time to do the work to really know yourself and have that self-reflection. And then you start to realize, do I really care that I don't own a house, or that I don't have as big of a house as my neighbor, or that I don't have like the newest car, or do I really care about these things? Does it really matter to me or make me who I am? Those having those types of internal dialogues and to be able to explore that and to know yourself is really important. And it's hard work though. And I think it's often why people find themselves in midlife crisis. However you define that, whether that's
Yes.
it can happen at any time, right? It doesn't have to be midlife, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever. But when people hit that crisis point, for a lot of people, I think it's because they wake up one day and maybe they've been unhappy for a long time, but they wake up one day and they're just like, why am I doing this? I hate my job. I hate like I don't like being like house poor. I don't like all these different things that they just did because of kind of the expectations around them. And maybe they even bought into them for a time, but for one reason or another, their values have shifted, or they've decided what's important to them has shifted. And now they're just like, why am I doing this? Why am I running on this treadmill? Why am I doing this grind? And and then they, some people, quit their job on a whim and go do their own thing. Other people, there's a whole variety of ways people respond to that kind of midlife crisis.
Correct.
But I think the crux of it for so many people is just trying to recalibrate and then try to adjust. And I think that's a very brave thing to do. And if you can have that self-reflection and recalibrate and then find ways to kind of declutter, like, and I just don't mean stuff, but I mean like declutter mentally, like all the
Starts
expectations,
with your mind first.
yeah,
Correct. Yes.
all the
Declutter.
expectations that you have floating around in there that you've always just taken for granted, but you actually start to analyze and look at them, and then you can start to see, oh, I don't actually care about that. That one doesn't matter. I'm going to prune that away. I'm going to get rid of it, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. And it's a really powerful thing.
It is, and it's really something that shows I'm different than other people, that I really do care about people and I want them to have a better life. And if you don't write down who you are as a person and expose and share who you are and show your vulnerabilities and what you've been through, then it can be harder for other people. So this lays out, even though it's a fictional, I'm basically saying you could lose your house. People lost their house, their cars, but what do you really own? It's the relationships you have, the attitude you get up every day. There are things that are more important that we don't even put in our asset column. That's an
Yeah.
asset. Having your parents around, spending more time with them, walking the dogs. I like to surf,
Hmm.
traveling to go surfing, being in the ocean. It's just an atmosphere that I prefer. When you're in the ocean, you're not connected to your phone and all these other things. People spend so much time, they never sit down and put their phone down. They're checking emails every 5 minutes. They're just afraid. And that's is when you're on your gravestone, do you want to say, I won my fantasy football league and I checked the emails more than anybody else? That's meaningless noise. That's
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So that's really what I get about it. I'm very successful for my clients in investing. I do a great job with all of that, but I want them to be happy and not just looking at the balance because while it's important to be financially independent, when you get enough, what are you really chasing then? Just the
Yeah.
life, the happiness, the friends, the relationships. Cars, they're meaningless. 10 years later, a car's like it's ancient, it's way behind. I mean, so that type of stuff doesn't matter. And then you get a big house and it's empty when your kids leave. And what good is that? Wouldn't you rather spend more of that traveling and doing things, seeing things that you can experience with the people you care about? So that's really what I try to focus on is giving people life lessons, so to speak, so that they take advantage of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard because we do grow up often, um, with either explicit or implicit like voices in our head and
Mhm.
expectations around us telling us, that stuff is the indicator of value, like whether you're successful or not is based on your house, your car, your career, your title, all these different things that there's nothing wrong. Like there's nothing wrong with having stuff, having a nice house, having a great career
Correct.
with, yeah, there's nothing wrong with any of that, right? But that in and of itself isn't what's going to, you're not going to derive and, perpetual meaning and purpose and satisfaction out of those things. You might have temporary boosts. Everyone likes to, go test drive a new car and you get that new car and it's fun and like you feel, you feel all the feels because of it. But that fades and it fades really fast.
It does fade
And
fast.
same thing for pretty much all of the all of the kind of tangible things that we have in the world around us. But what doesn't fade, like you said, are those relationships, friends, family, colleagues, people that you invest into your time, your energy, you develop trust with them, loyalty, and those remain. Those will always, if you continue to nurture them, they'll always be there for you. They'll always be with you. So you lose your house, you lose your car, you lose your job, you go through financial hard times. Nobody wants to do that, and everyone wants to be financially secure, and I want people to be financially secure, but I mean, you. you can look at the wealthiest people, the wealthiest nations, the wealthiest communities. Are they the happiest people? I mean,
No,
I would argue oftentimes no. And in fact, there's lots of studies around like job satisfaction and li life satisfaction and those sorts of things. And often they don't correlate all that well with
you can see
wealth
it. Yes,
indicators, right? Or title
correct.
in a job or things like that. Because it's more about finding who you are, your meaning, your purpose, your contentment. It is a powerful, powerful thing. There's a reason why there's like thousands of years of philosophy around this, right? And
Correct.
be-
Philosophy is essentially where people were reflective. People were around and
yeah,
they could see it, whether you had more crops, more slaves, more whatever the case in the Roman Empire, you had housekeepers, slaves, gold, houses. There's always this. And it's just the ways, even Elon Musk, when you look at him, wealth is like seawater to him. The more he drinks, the thirstier he gets. If you
yeah,
had his wealth today, he makes basically, if you took a 5% withdrawal rate, when I tell you this is going to sound crazy, it's like $467 million a week.
yeah.
So,
It's not. He's about half a trillion right now in total
yes, but
wealth,
he
right?
makes 1 billion in 2 weeks just off if he had interest on his money. That's what I'm trying to, and it's never enough. It's more and more and more. And that's the point is we're not going to be in that situation, but we at least need to know where we stand and what our goals are. And oftentimes, if we get to our goals, we should be satisfied. We should be reflective and looking and saying, I wanted to get here. I wanted to do this. And a lot of people never really do that. They're just constantly chasing and they never sit down to be reflective on their situation. I think that is one of the most important things. And that's why I share the philosophy. It's not for everybody because a lot of people just want to run around and chase whatever the next hot thing is. But this is also in investing. It's about the core principles, being calm and premeditation malorum or implementation intentions, which mean being prepared for bad things will allow you to navigate the world in a much better situation as well, too, because you're prepared, because there's always going to be negative things that happen. And acting like this new negative thing is different, well, I mean, we're going to have 50 negative things happen over the next 50 years. It's just the way it is. So it's that mindset and trying to give people like you have your health, you have your health care, you have this. Well, hopefully you have your health care after this bill, but the other things are what's really important. So that's what I want to focus on because everybody's focused on more money. I'm focused on increasing your quality of life and through happiness.
Yeah, well, I love it. And you're right. Like there's we all have our own stuff, our own baggage, our own trauma, the stuff that we've struggled with. Everyone has stuff, right?
Yes,
And everyone will continue to have stuff. And it's different. Like people have different things they suffer from or with different challenges that they face. But the truth is we're all human, so everyone has stuff. Everyone has their own things. And there will continue to be things, and I have to admit, like at the moment, at this point in time, I have discouragement around kind of the broader state of the planet and society as a whole, and like
understood.
the polarization in communities and like all of that's very concerning to me. But if I take a step back and I look at the arc of history, right? And I look at the ebbs and flows because there always are ebbs and flows and cyclical things. And if I
Hmm.
take a step back and I just look at like my family and I'm like, um, I have a beautiful family. I have a wife that I love. I have children that I love. We're not rich, but we're financially secure. I have a job that I love that brings me great meaning and purpose. And I love, like you said, I love walking my dogs. Like we live right next to a park, and every day I go walk my dogs at the park. Like
That's what I do too.
that's one of my
First thing in the
favorite
morning.
moments in the day. And like it's simple things. I live in a place with beautiful mountains. Just this morning, I went down. So, we're about 10 minutes from the lake on one side, and we're about 10 minutes from the mountains and going up the canyon on the other side. And depending on the day, sometimes I'll say, you know what, instead of going to the park behind my house, I'm going to take the dogs to the lake, or I'm going to take them up to the canyon and go up on a trail in the mountains. And I love it. Like it's amazing. And when you do those types of things and you can realize, okay, yes, there are things I'm genuinely concerned about in this world right now. And I'm concerned about certain communities of people that don't have all the same benefits and privileges that I have.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I also need to recognize the good that is in my life and find peace in that and contentment in that. Um, because that'll give me the energy to continue to work for the change that I want to see, right? And if I
Correct.
don't see those things, then I'm just going to get burned out. I'm just going to be discouraged.
That's essentially why I always like what you just said. I talk about noise, like he's holding a coin in his hand and people are going around the market and he drops the coin, not thinking because he's so used to allowing the noise to get in that he's not able to do anything else. He loses focus. We have to learn to be focused on what's important. We can have a long-term focus, but a short-term. And these are the types of principles. It's same in investing. We're going to have probably a bear market next year, probably a recession. It's probably going to be steep because of the bad policies that we have. And with that, I'm going to go in and I'm going to take and buy things at discounts. And that is part of the mindset is I have to explain to people that we have to be prepared for when we're on the boat, the ship's rocking, we got to pull down the sail. But to get out of the storm, we may have to put the sail up a little early and get. So I'm just trying to use these types of metaphors and stories to help people understand. Like we're always going to have choppy situations, but we got to have the right outlook. And that's essentially what Stoicism is to me. And I often use surfing as kind of we don't control the ocean, we don't control the water temperature, we don't control the salt, we don't control the size of the waves, but we can control everything about what we do outside the water. We can control the board, the wetsuit we put on. So there's things we can control. So it's not hopeless. And through that, I want to get people energetic about investing and also navigating things and not allowing the portfolio movements up and down to also bother them, which is the point of it is do we have enough? Are we happy? Are we doing the things we want to do? And that's essentially what's important to me is being different than every other CFP who's always focused on more and more and more.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah. So, oftentimes we'll talk about the pursuit of happiness. There's that movie
Hmm.
that came out. I don't when was that? 20 years ago or something.
It was a while
Um,
ago.
a while back, and I remember even at the time thinking, well, one, I liked the movie, and it was inspiring to see someone, down on their luck, work hard, find success for him and his kid. All of that was beautiful, But on the one hand, on the other hand, I'm just like, but the message of this movie is the pursuit of happiness is him becoming an investment banker, like, or a stock trader or whatever. I can't remember. And like, it was like around wealth and obviously him being homeless and like being so disadvantaged. Obviously, you need certain amounts of stability just to be able to thrive in life. And
Yes.
and so that is completely understandable. Where I step away from that is like, okay, but you don't need to have all of the wealth to be happy. So when we use the term pursuit of happiness, a lot of times that's how people equate it, like kind of like in that movie even. And and you talk about the pursuit of less, the pursuit of less. And how for you, how does that lead to meaning, fulfillment, happiness?
Well, traveling, being around other people, building these connections matter more to me. Obviously, financial security is very important, but once you get to that level, or trying to get to that level, you still need to live a life. A lot of people are always like, I'll do this when I get to this point.
Yeah, yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to spend money. Do you really need the extra clothing? Do you really need, the bigger house that you have to heat? That I mean, I have the energy bills I see on some people. I'm like, your energy bill's 1,000 a month. Like that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the only person making money off it and that only helps the energy company. So
Hmm.
a lot of times we're doing things that don't really make sense. And I because I do financial planning, I'm like, do you really want $100,000 car? Like you probably won't even like it. You don't even drive much anymore. So there's these things where it's just like if they become impulsive or short term, don't allow these short term impulses to affect your short and long term happiness. Because your short term happiness could be, oh, wow, I saw this new car, I really like it. Or, oh, we should get a new house because whatever the reason, people wind up spending too much or they do too much on things that don't matter and not enough time on the things that really matter. And wealth can be taken away very quickly. You can
Hmm.
have a lot of different things. You could lose your job if your happiness is tied to just your job. So these are the types of things I like to get people to really think about. And once then you can have a conversation with them. It's financial planning 101. What is important to you? And then write it down. If you don't write it down, then I have to tease it out of you. But I prefer you to think about it and be reflective on it and have deliberate thought, not just check boxes off of, a checklist. And because you don't really think about it, you're just checking off the boxes.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I think, there's not like a silver bullet here for people to find happiness in life. Life is messy, people are messy, relationships are messy, we all have hard things. But I think if we can learn to find contentment with where we're at, have clarity around what we value and where we want to go so that
Clarity
we,
around what we value, yes.
yeah, so that we can move intentionally forward rather than just haphazardly like we often so often do. And then learn to find contentment. I don't remember what we were watching, but I was sitting down with my wife the other day. We were watching a show in the evening, and it was, I don't remember what it was, but basically it was like this endless pursuit of like more new, those types of things. She turned to me and she's like, don't people ever just feel like content with where they're at? Do people always have to be doing the next thing? Do people always have, and she just asked me that question. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm so happy that my wife has learned to find contentment, and it's something that I think a lot of people really struggle with. I mean, people wrestle with
You
that their
can
whole lives.
be growth minded. Yeah, you want to be growth minded and curious, but you also have to be reflective on what is enough. And that's the thing with me when I work with clients and other stuff like that. I talk about this when I write my letters. It's always based in Stoicism, giving them reflections that people don't change. And Seneca talks about walking through Rome after the Colosseum fights with the gladiators, going, people are so worked up seeing the lions eat the gladiators kill themselves, blood's being splattered everywhere. And that's just an NFL stadium today. And they're all distracted from what's reality and what's really important. These are short-term distractions. So it might bring a little bit of happiness for them, but it's really a distraction. We're the same. We're always going to focus a lot of times on the things that don't matter as much
Hmm.
because they're constantly, it's called the availability heuristic in psychology, meaning whatever's thrown at us, we're like, oh, this, that. And I'm like, turn off the TV, sit in your house and just think or write or read because all of these, we're being told what to think and what to be upset about. And that's part of being important. I don't watch financial news at all, and yet I have a better track record than everybody. And that's because I don't allow all of these things to infect my mind, which is to me, it's like an infection. You know what I mean? Because they're trying to sell advertising. They're not trying to teach you anything. They're just trying to advertise something. That's all TV shows are for. That's how they make their money, advertisement. So ultimately, I tell people don't pay attention to that unless you know someone's track record, because I
Yeah,
hear that all the time.
yeah,
So
absolutely. Well, Will, this has just been a fantastic conversation. I know we've only scratched the surface of your book, but it's great that that's there and available for folks to learn, to read, to learn more, and to to learn from that narrative and those examples that you provide. As we wrap up for today, I just wanted to give you a chance to share with the audience how they can connect with you, find out more about your work, where they can find your book, and then give us the final word for today.
you can find me at willryoung.com. You can join the mailing list. You can also book an appointment with me. I do wealth planning. I'm a certified financial planner, but my specialty is behavioral psychology and finance. So when you work with me, I'm going to be a lot different. I'm going to ask you questions to really pull out the emotional part of it, so and make you think about things. And as we get to know each other and work together over time, I'm going to continually make sure we're focused on your mental outlook because again, we want you to be healthy and happy and have financial independence, not just a cookie cutter allocation based on
Yeah.
what everybody else does. And I'm going to be, with me, it's a personal relationship, which I think is important because I want to understand you and you can understand me. It's not like a lot of these other places where you have one advisor and 200 households. I might have 50 or 70. I'm going to be a lot less because to me, I want to teach you, I want to help you, and you'll help me as well as I continue to grow as a person and as a philosopher and a behavioral strategist. So,
I love it. I love it. Will, it has just been a real pleasure. I encourage the audience to reach out, to get connected, find out more about what Will can do for you. Check out the book. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week.